Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. Unexpected events have been happening recently in One Piece, and there are many enemies heading straight to Egghead, and we now have a new hope for the Straw Hats to escape Vegapunk's island, because we have someone coming out of the shadows that is loyal to the good doctor. So in today's video, we're going to talk about our expectations for the next chapter of One Piece, chapter 1072. What events might happen based on what went on in the previous chapter, and what the outcome of this next step in this mounting battle around Egghead Island might turn out to be. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel or even if you've watched a bunch of our videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you leave us a like and even subscribe and maybe leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make more content. And if you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, consider sharing this video or another one of your favorites with a friend. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So my friends, currently in our One Piece story, we see that the Straw Hats and Vegapunk are trapped on the top of Egghead Island, because not only do we have CP0 already on site, we know that Kizaru and the Navy are headed towards Egghead, and they're likely to set up a perimeter around the island, making escape for this crew and scientist looking less and less likely. Although everything seems to be going against the Straw Hats, it seems like there's a person on Egghead Island that's going to be able to not only help them in the battle against CP0 and the Navy, it's that Vegapunk himself says that this person is incredibly powerful. And even with the staggering odds, as long as they have the ability to fight off CP0 and delay the agents so Vegapunk and the Straw Hats can escape the island, that is really what we need right now. And even though we still don't know who this mysterious character is, it might be a person who we've already heard about and had a big role in the One Piece story just quite a long time ago. In 1071, Vegapunk said that if the person ends up helping them, they're not going to be able to stay in hiding on Egghead, becoming an outlaw and a target of the world government and Navy, which might mean that this person has been holed up on Egghead Island, taking shelter for quite a long time. Maybe this person is pretending to have lost their life so that the world government doesn't try to look for them because they might have done something or been affiliated with a certain person long in the past. Or it could be somebody that works undercover in the Navy or CP0, and if they were to come out and fight for Vegapunk and the Straw Hats, it would compromise their cover inside either organization. There have been lots of possibilities discussed around the community about who this mystery person could be, and one strong possibility that is in the running is that it could be Stussy herself, one of the CP0 agents. Now this might sound like a crazy idea to you, but before you leave anything negative in the comments, even though it looks like Stussy is there to take Vegapunk's life, let's analyze a little information that Oda gave us throughout the story of One Piece to support this claim. Let's begin with where Stussy first appeared in the story. And this was at Sanji and Pudding's wedding during the Whole Cake Island arc. And for having some pretty good notoriety in the world, Stussy was ultimately one of the guests for this event, meaning Big Mom had invited her. During the events of this arc, we saw that Stussy and Defeld had some kind of connection, because after Stussy hits Defeld with the finger bullets, she apologizes to him and calls him an old friend, proving that they've known each other for quite a long time. Recently in a cover story, we learned that Defeld was actually responsible for sponsoring and funding MADS. And this is of course that organization of brilliant scientists composing of Caesar Clown, Judge, Vegapunk, and of course Queen. And somebody else that was shown in shadow, they have a very big resemblance to Stussy herself, meaning that in addition to being a CP0 agent and an empress of the underworld, it seems that Stussy may have been a great scientist at MADS working alongside Vegapunk. Another point that supports this possibility is that when Stussy arrived on Egghead Island with the rest of the CP0 agents, she said that she had missed the place and knew where all the traps were, really letting us know that she has not only been on Egghead Island, but she knows about the inner workings and has a pretty deep and intimate knowledge about the place. Another piece of supporting evidence is the fact that during the CP0 invasion of Egghead, Stussy just sat back and watched all the agents attack and never actually told them about where any of the traps were. I mean, she didn't even tell Kaku, who's supposed to be right on the team with her, causing Kaku to activate several of the traps. When Lucci and Kaku engaged the Straw Hats in combat, Stussy just sat back and watched, which could mean she has some other things in mind and some other plans waiting in the wings. Next, Vegapunk said that this ally was already on the island, and if they asked for their help, they would be in the world government sites as well. Something this also fits well with the situation that Stussy is currently in. Because she belonged to MADS, Stussy is already considered a criminal, just like Vegapunk, Caesar, Queen, and Judge. I mean, Vegapunk was even arrested in the past, but because he allied himself with the world government, he was allowed to act as their kind of scientific lapdog. Vegapunk. And this is supported by that cover story I mentioned earlier, where we see all the members of MADS appear, and there's that mysterious figure in the back with her back turned to the rest of the group, which may symbolize that her identity just hasn't been revealed to the world government, meaning that this scientist could be just a mystery to everybody. Stussy could be a spy that has infiltrated CP0 to gather information for the criminal underworld. Now, although this idea is probably the most supported one that we can come up with at the moment, there are other important One Piece characters that could also be this mysterious person that's going to bail out the Straw Hats and Vegapunk in the next few chapters. Moving on, another interesting point that we'd like to talk about that could happen in this next chapter is what is going on with Bartholomew Kuma, because right now he's acting in a really strange way, and there's very little chance that we could even predict what he's intending to do now that he's reached the red line. Now, we know that Kuma was saved by Sabo and the other revolutionaries, but even though he was saved, it looks like he might be going back to the world government or even Marijois, which has not only left us confused, but it's also confused all of Kuma's allies and enemies. In chapter 1071, Vegapunk tells Bonnie that he can't turn Kuma back into a human, but there is a reason for it, a reason that possibly only Vegapunk and Kuma know about. It could be that Kuma is out filling a goal that he wasn't able to before, because it is a perfect moment for Kuma to be doing something against the world government and rebelling, especially for everything they did to him as a slave of the Celestial Dragons on Marijois. Think about it. The Marines are currently concentrating all their efforts on Egghead Island, and Kizaru has ordered all available Marine ships to go to the island to capture the Straw Hats, meaning the world government's defenses are fully down. We've got CP0, Kizaru, Navy, possibly Sword, and many other important members that are on their way to Egghead. Now, we don't know where the other admirals are as far as Ryukugyu and Fujitora, but that could mean that Kuma might be able to infiltrate the land of the gods to do whatever he's got in mind. This could even be something that Vegapunk and Kuma have been planning for a very long time. I mean, Vegapunk has been modifying Kuma's body for many years, and even took away his humanity for their plan to come to fruition. But if this is a plan by Kuma and Vegapunk, we really still don't know what Kuma's going to be after. And this is something that even the revolutionaries may not be in on, because it seems like they're really confused about what's going on. Speaking of the Revolutionary Army, it's possible that they may start to move to go and support Kuma fulfill whatever his objective is. And this is because everybody's going to know where Kuma is because of how he arrived. I mean, he slammed his body directly into the red line. And not only that, he hit the symbol of the world government, stopping right below where the world government has its lifts that go up to the Holy Land of Marijois. So in this next chapter, we might get to know a little bit more about these plans that Kuma and Vegapunk have together. Finally, let's talk about Garp and Teach, because at the end of the last chapter, we saw that Garp is on his way to go save Kobe, who was captured by Blackbeard during the events on Kuja Island. As of right now, Teach is facing off against Law and his crew on an island not too far from Egghead Island, which means that Garp could arrive while they're still in the middle of the fighting or just as it ends. Now, since Kobe's abduction, we haven't seen where he is or even if he's on Teach's ship, which means that he could be in an undisclosed place on one of the ships near the battle with Law, or he could be actually imprisoned on Teach's island, being protected by the other pirates of the crew. So it's likely that Garp's gonna show up right at the end or near the end of Law and Teach's conflict, and then once he settles up there, goes directly to Beehive Island, initiating what could be an even larger conflict. This also makes us wonder that if Garp is bound to show up on the island, could this foreshadow that Law may lose his fight against Teach? Now, the outcome is still really uncertain, but it's not likely that Teach is really gonna lose because he's considered to be one of the final villains in the whole story of One Piece. But if he defeats Law and is able to take his poneglyph rubbings, Teach is gonna be able to go after the One Piece and get his own goal of becoming king of the pirates. So again, now that Garp is going after Teach, we have to wonder if this means that Law is more likely to lose his match. But either way, we'll still have to wait and see how it plays out in the next chapter. But whenever there is that clash between Garp and Teach, it's gonna be an extremely interesting thing to watch. Because although Garp might be heavily outnumbered, Garp's probably gonna bring Marines with him in this rescue. We know he's got Helmeppo, and we know he's got other members of Sword from the island. So who knows what kind of crewmates that Garp's gonna pull up with. And let's also not count the old man out, because he still throws cannonballs with his bare hands and is a formidable fighter, even if he's getting up in age. Teach. And because the Marines are focused on going to Egghead, this means that Garp's only going to recruit Marines who really want to save Kobe, keeping the crew quite small. But again, even if he's outnumbered and he doesn't have many allies on his side, Garp is not going to let Teach keep Kobe, because Garp will end up using all his strength to be able to rescue his student. He might even go as far as to sacrifice his life so that Kobe can escape the island safely, serving as some kind of distraction or just holding off the enemy and giving his life in exchange for the next generation. So moving forward, we're going to see lots of different important events happening as we continue through this final saga of One Piece. A lot of events that might turn out in an unpredictable way, because as we know, Oda is constantly changing different events to fit the direction that he really feels the story wants to go. And we've always seen Oda throughout the years take an idea, and just when we think we've got it figured out, he flips the story into something so much better, something we could have never imagined. And that's one of the reasons why we love this pirate tale. But with all that said, we'd now love to know what you think about it. How do you think things are gonna go down on Egghead Island? And who do you think the mysterious character is? Is it Stussy? Is it some former member of Roger's crew? Or is it somebody that we have not even thought about? Next, how do you think things might play out with Kuma as he's going up the red line? Do you think he's going back for revenge? Or is maybe this just a silly kind of thing that his pawpaw fruit only projects him in a straight line and he just happened to hit the world government symbol? And finally, what do you think is going to happen once Garp comes into the fray between Teach and Law? Do you think Law is going to lose, or do you think he might be able to hold off Teach long enough that Garp arrives to bail him out? Let us know what you think in the comments below. So as we wrap up our expectations for our upcoming chapter of 1072, I want to thank you all so much for watching the video, especially those of you who've hung out here to the very end. Make sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like and hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. I hope to see you all in our next video. Let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.